Grizzly. At Grizzly, we believe charging your electric vehicle should be simple, reliable, and affordable. That's why we design, engineer, and build our chargers in Canada, ensuring top-tier quality and performance. Powered by United Chargers, every Grizzly model is crafted in-house, built to withstand extreme conditions, and tested for reliability. Recognized by leading publications for its performance and value, Grizzly delivers both durability and intelligence with heavy-duty aluminum enclosures, premium output cables, and smart charging features like scheduling, usage tracking, and OCPP compatibility with multiple charging apps. Grizzly. Simple, reliable, affordable, built for every climate, every EV, everywhere you go. Visit grizzly.com to learn more.
Hello and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It is Friday, December 5th, episode 117, if you're keeping count. Today we'll talk about actually driving the BMW iX3, new economy standards being lowered in the US, and also the promise of K-cars, and Lexus shocking the world with an electric LFA, and of course much more. LFA, I should say. I'm your host, Martin Lee, from the EV News Daily podcast. Joining us today is Dominic Yoni, longtime EV journalist and host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic. Kyle Connor is here today from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Out of Spec Studios. And our guest host today is Andrew Lambrecht, project engineer at Ever. He also writes about EVs for Inside EVs, Business Insider, Forbes and more. Has a degree in industrial engineering from Clemson and has interned at Lucid in the past. Tom couldn't make it today. He's off doing something in Arizona. And if you know where various car makers are based, it's obvious what he's doing, really, isn't it? Welcome back, Kyle and Andrew, this week. We're going to get to the iX3 in a moment. Andrew, last time you were on this show, you were about to take delivery of your leased Charger Daytona. If people follow you on LinkedIn, they'll know the story by now. But there was a glitch in the Matrix. What has happened? And have you got the car? Have you got a car?
Oh, so this is actually really fun. And I remember, because Kyle, we were talking about, because I was going to lend it to you to do some testing. Unfortunately, we can't do that because I don't have the car yet. So it's been 69 days since I initiated the lease. I did a one-pay lease of the car. Not for much money, by the way. It was $4,600. And I did the one pay, but I haven't gotten the car yet because it's been just serviced ever since, which is concerning. So a few months, I think, because the last time I was here was I think it was over a month ago. So it was a while. And then I would just constantly post updates on LinkedIn. I would be like, hey, day 50, no car. So finally, Stellantis reached out to me. I got a phone call from some strange number in Michigan. And it was some executive referrals manager. And he's like, very sorry about this. He's like, we will get this sorted out. We're going to give you $3,100 cash right up front to kind of make up for this. And I'm like, okay. So now my lease price is down to $63 a month. I'm in a gas-powered Dodge Charger loaner car. The only issue is 3 weeks ago, they were like, all right, we found out it needs a new inverter. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's just get the part ordered and then I'll get my car. And then as of, Dominic has disappeared.
Okay. Hotel Wi-Fi.
And then just this week, I got a phone call from the dealership, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't order the part or anything." I don't know. That's literally the update.
Which is odd. Which is odd because they built it. Not the dealership, but they did just build it with parts that came in on a truck, sat on a shelf, a robot or a human or a combination of both, did some bolts, and then they made a car. And it appears that they now can't fix the car. So what's the so you're just driving around a gas charger?
Well, I still have my Model 3, so I'm mainly driving that and
I love it.
Between some press cars. But I mean, yeah, no Dodge. That's it. It's the one from, if you've played GTA 5, you would know that's the default car you get as Franklin's character. So I think that is kind of funny. But yeah, that's my car for now.
You look like you got it parked out where Marcus Brownlee does his autofocus channel. It looks the same background. And so where, is it now just we can't fix it?
I don't know. I'm now going back to Dodge Core. And keep in mind, I've called them about probably a total of 20-ish times, maybe 19, 20. from when I started the lease, and just constantly, I never really get any information besides we're working on it. And I don't, yeah.
I feel bad now.
That's all my update.
I feel bad because the Polestar was serviced this week and they came out when it was finished and I'm so sorry you can't have the car back for 10 minutes because we're cleaning it. That's fine. You can't have your car at all. Kyle, you've had your fair share of cars in and out of garages over the years. Ever had anything like this where they're like, sorry, the computer says no?
Yeah, I'm sure we've experienced stuff like this. And actually, just recently coming to memory is we bought a brand new Nissan Leaf. Not the current generation. This was, a year ago or so. They had those insane Leaf lease deals. And the car I bought for my dog sitter and car transporter, Danny, he's awesome. I got him one of these because they were like, I don't even know, $5 a month or something. They were so cheap. I was like, Danny, you want a free Nissan Leaf? And then the car bricked on him with 400 miles on it, and it needed a new battery. And we were waiting and waiting and waiting on a new battery. And basically, we were like, guys, we just got this car. Like, we're not going to wait forever. So they ended up switching him into a different vehicle. They exchanged it.
Right. Just a whole new car. What's the, on a different topic that's non-EV related, what's the parts weight on your, is it a 350 you've got? What's your truck?
Yeah, my truck just went in for body shop repair yesterday, and they said it should be done within a week and a half or 2 weeks. So
now,
no
Ford, see, this is how it's done, Ford. You have bits available. So I think, was it Danny's truck that tried to kill your truck? Something flew off the back of it.
I was following Danny again. Danny comes up the second time. I was following him in my pickup truck, and we had a car logistics thing going on. We made a video about it, and his trailer had a part fall off, and it smashed into the front of my truck. And thankfully no one died, no one got hurt, everything's good. But yeah, definitely needed some repairs. And just like a normal car repair, we scheduled it. We waited, probably 2 weeks for it to get in for service, and then it's another 2 weeks for repair. That's normal for like a collision repair. When you're talking about an actual vehicle fault, that's a warrantyable concern. I'll give you an example. I have a Tesla Model X on test from Tesla. It's a bit of a long-term loan, and it broke catastrophically on a brand new car. So I haven't made the video yet, but we got this brand new Model X from Tesla. By the way, they also just dropped off the Model Y standard and the Model 3 standard. So we have three Tesla cars here that I've got to make a bunch of videos with. So I'm a bit behind. But the Model X, we got it. We used it in our Eastern Edge road trip race, and the air suspension faulted, the air conditioning broke, and the driver assistance computer bricked on a brand new car. And, because it's Tesla, I just called them. I'm like, can y'all fix this before we test it? They got it in like the next day, and I think it was like a 2 or 3 day service visit. Boom, car's done. So like that's about as fast as you can go.
Yeah. New Tesla stuff to talk about. I got an email in my inbox this morning about Tesla Model Y standard. So for anyone over here interested in that, it's about $3,000 down, 3.5 down, and then $299 a month over 3 years. Which honestly, that's really competitive. Tesla got some struggles with sales in Europe right now. Not in Norway, doing really well in Norway, but France, Spain, Germany, UK, down. It's not capturing people's imagination. Lots of analysts saying, well, the model lineup is stale and they haven't changed it in years. But have they driven those cars? Because the new Model Y is very, very good. And actually, $299 is a pretty good price. Not the best that's out there, but still, I think pretty good. So, yeah, lots to talk about, I think, with Tesla stuff. All right, so, Andrew, apart from that, you are still taking your Model 3 to work. And you told us last time you were on about, what you were doing, where you are at Ever. How's things going there?
It's going well. Just busy with the YouTube videos. So I now know what it feels like to do YouTube videos a lot, because it's way more involved than I originally thought it was. Just like script writing, tripod setting up, getting the video. But it's really fun, and the channel is growing, and then we're getting press cars now. So it's pretty exciting.
Good man. Yeah, YouTube just eats everything. Now, Kyle, when you were last with us, you had just driven the BMW iX3 in Spain, but you couldn't talk about it. Now the embargo's dropped. We saw the videos this week. I've been saying for a long time, pay attention to iX3, partly because over the last 2 years, BMW, maybe monthly, have drip-fed something else out, which was, oh, here's the efficiency, oh, here's that, oh, here's our new cells, and here's this. You don't do that unless you know you got something really, really special. Then we saw the car unveiled. I think we all agreed it looked special, but none of us had driven it. And now, Carl, you can finally tell us about how it drives and charges. During the walk around, you called it like the most important car launch of your lifetime. It's such an important car. First takeaways then. What were you most impressed by?
Yeah, I think it's the most important BMW launch in my lifetime. The car, first of all, is a spreadsheet killer. So we obviously drive cars on pavement and not on paper. But let's say you do the paper to paper comparison. You can get a really nicely spec'd iX3 for under 70 grand. They start at 60 grand. That's dual motor, big battery, all-wheel drive, $60,000 base price in the US. That comes with over 400 miles of EPA range and over 400 kilowatt peak charging with a pretty fat curve. Now, these are pretty energy dense cells. And so in a car that's just a tad bigger than a Model Y, you have 108.7 kilowatt hours of usable energy content. That is a huge battery with fast charging and lots of range. Then you dig into the rest of the vehicle. Okay, well, they've completely reworked the entire electrical architecture at BMW. It now uses a zonal architecture similar to like Gen 2 Rivians. They have phone as a key with ultra wideband support. They have route planning that instantly plans the route for you really, really quick. And it's a nice, high quality, spacious vehicle. We knew all that. But then the driving dynamics back it up. It's not like a sporty M car. They left a lot of room for a higher power, driftier, really fun version to come ahead. But it's, I think, more than comfortable enough for the daily commute. This is a completely passive suspension system, which is odd. It's one setting in the damper. It's non-air suspension, not even available, no rear steer. And it just drove nice and way softer than I was expecting. I thought BMW was going to make this thing stiff. That's not to say it doesn't handle well, though. I ripped it through the mountains. And while, yeah, there's a lot that I really want from, we know the electric M cars that are coming, and I got some sneak previews on what's coming. And they know what they got to do. This isn't that, but it's enough to have fun on a back road, and the car can handle its own really well. And then you get into like the nitty gritty fine detail tuning where it's like, okay, the chassis engineers were like, yeah, most people aren't really going to want to drift around an iX3. This is like a mom car to daily drive. But if you want to, you can still go DSC off and it rips the rear motor, and the brake pedal is awesome. By the way, smoothest one pedal driving of any vehicle I've ever experienced. So I can't quite hear you there, Martin. Sorry.
I was muted. Sorry, my fault. In what way? Because you can calibrate the one pedal driving. When you come to a stop completely, or how do you mean?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things going on with the braking system. The first is when you touch the brake pedal. Let's say you have the car in normal key up setting, drive, not one pedal driving on. You can put one pedal application in. And you know how a lot of times when you come to a stoplight or a stop sign, you should lift off the brake pedal at the end just to make a smoother stop.
Yeah.
This does that automatically. And this isn't the first car to do that. There's some Chinese cars that do that. And so you basically select one pedal pressure, and then right at the end, it perfectly levels off and you come to a stop. Now, it's not going to do that if you're emergency braking because you want the shortest stopping distance. But I mean, this maybe adds 6 inches or a foot to stopping. It's imperceptible, and you have the smoothest stop ever. So that's really cool and great for new drivers, especially for the Chinese market, because I am not trying to be stereotypical here, but the average driver over there, not as good at being smooth while driving. Yeah. The one pedal driving is amazing. First of all, it's got pretty good regen in terms of deceleration rate. But when you are completely off the pedals in B mode, which is one pedal drive, you cannot tell when it stops.
Wow.
I mean, if you close your eyes in the passenger seat and you have the driver lift off, there is not a single moment where you can tell, oh, we just stopped. You can't hear anything. You can't feel anything. A lot of cars have good one pedal driving. Tesla has great one pedal driving. Rivian has great one pedal driving. This is nothing close to that at all. It's unbelievable. So that was really cool. And it works on a insane steep grade as well.
Wow. Wow. So a lot of this is to do with how they've calibrated the new computing power. Electronics-wise, they talk about the 4 super brains that BMW that describe it for things like infotainment, climate, comfort, automated driving, a dedicated dynamics controller, which they call the heart of joy. But, you know, nice marketing phrase. As long as it works brilliantly by the sounds of it, it does. Effectively, that's the central vehicle dynamics brain that pulls together steering, torque vectoring, damping, and regen all together, 10 times the processing power that they've had access to until now. And so cleaner weight transfer, seamless regen that Kyle just talked about. So this feels like engineering in a digital age, because one of the things that I always say to people is when they say to me, you know, Tesla isn't innovating these days. And I say, well, it's really hard to have a perception of code. Like Tesla is innovating in code. Like lots of companies are coding better, but it's hard to get that across to people. Whereas BMW obviously talk about, you know, pure driving pleasure and being a well-engineered car. So fascinating that Kyle said that. And what did you think about the way that things like the infotainment and the screens all work together, the mix of buttons and screens and things like that?
Funny you should mention that. About 47 minutes ago, I just posted a whole video deep dive with the lead UI UX engineer designer. And so we talked about why buttons are where they are, how it's laid out. I honestly think it's a pretty daunting system at first glance. Like if you get in this car, there's a lot going on there with the software. And I think it's going to take, if you take delivery of one of these things, just take like 1 hour and just set the car up. Just go through everything, dial in how you want it. You should do that with any car anyway, but this there's just a lot you can set, and there's a lot of menus, and BMW's always been that way. So it's one of those things that you got to get used to the system. Once you're in there, it all makes sense. It's really cool.
Nice. Andrew, what do you make of the iX3?
I think it looks really cool. And the price point, yeah, I think especially when you compare this to some of the other luxury EVs on the market, like Audi Q6 e-tron, it's like this has more range. And I think the Q6 e-tron is pretty good. And then this one has faster charging, better range. It seems like from these preliminary impressions, the software is a lot better. So yeah, I think this is a really exciting product.
Yeah, I think basing things on Android is a really good way forward. I'm surprised how little traction Apple are getting with their new kind of CarPlay Ultra, as it were, but Android-based things with the BMW OS X on top of it, more App Store-like flexibility, and bringing new things to it as well. I see Polestar say they're going to bring Gemini, which is their AI, to cars, so you can just talk to the car like you would your smart speaker or AI, which is, you know, voice assistants vary in how good or not they are. I think in car until now, voice has really sucked. This one has the Hey BMW assistant for hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, sort of voice. But I think by the time you start to bring AI and large language models into cars, you can just say to the car, oh, is the shop that I'm going to open at the minute, or when does it close? And it knows what you're saying, and it can go and search the internet and come back and do that. So the software looks really good with the BMW iX3. Pricing wise, not 1,000% sure. I've got US pricing in front of me on my notes anywhere, but it sits in Model Y long range or performance territory. It sits Audi Q6 e-tron, Mercedes next wave of EQs, and so that kind of area. 800 volt, 400 kilowatt charging. Kyle, how much charging or not have you done with this vehicle?
Yeah, a bit. I was just going to bring up a charging point. Let's talk home charging and then public charging, because again, I've done 3 hours of content on this car now, over 3 hours of content on the Out of Spec Reviews channel. So there, you can learn everything you want to know about it. I had a point of confusion with the engineers in Europe about how the US cars would be spec'd. And just a couple days ago, BMW North America emailed me with the clarification. I still don't know if I buy this, but it would be amazing if this is the case, or pretty interesting. So in Europe, there's like onboard charger professional and then a normal one. The professional gets you like 22 kilowatts or whatever. In the US, this is what one of the product guys messaged me. He said all US bound iX3s will be equipped with AC charging professional, which enables AC charging at up to 15.4 kilowatt as well as bidirectional charging. The 0 to 100% charge time at 15.4 kilowatts is around 7.5 hours, to be confirmed. So that's interesting because I've never heard of a 15.4 kilowatt onboard charger. That's a 64 amp onboard charger, and that's what will be included as standard. Now that's cool. It's just a weird number to pick. It's like if you're going there, just go 80 amp onboard charger at that point. And so that's your home AC charging capability. Up to apparently 64 amps or 15.4 kilowatts. Your DC charging capability at home is another interesting point because BMW will sell a bidirectional DC wall box, which is similar to like GM's bidirectional thing, but it's a bit different in the sense that it actually will charge the car with direct current. And that is a 22 kilowatt DC charger. So typically we don't have things that are 22 kilowatt in the US because that's 3-phase at maximum amperage in Europe. However, this is DC 22 kilowatt charger. So that's really cool. And that's up to, I think you can derate them as well. It will also go back to the house at, I believe, up to 22 kilowatts. I have to check the notes on that, but it's a very juicy bidirectional system, and that can power your whole house for whatever you need, basically. The AC bidirectional side, because this car supports both DC and AC offboarding, which is cool. The AC bidirectional side, I think, is only 3.6 kilowatts, but they have a way for you to plug that directly into your house. There's like a little emergency plug that they haven't shown yet that will basically be able to come out of your EVSE, plug into like a port on the side of your house that you'll have installed, and then you can run certain circuits off the AC bidirectional capability. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of AC bidirectional capability in vehicles, especially, like I had the Cybertruck set up at my house in Colorado, and that was really cool. I just never lost power when I had it set up, which was a bummer. But I really like that because I didn't need to get a big inverter or any other, apparatus at the house. It just was one little switch box and it worked perfectly. This will be able to support both. We'll have to see if anyone ends up getting any of this stuff installed because everything like this is so expensive. You need specialized electricians who are willing to, experiment a little bit on new systems, and we'll see how that all plays out. Stuff just usually isn't worth it, in my opinion, as much as I love the idea of bidirectional capability. On the DC charging side, at a low voltage, high power station, so think Tesla supercharger V3 cabinet station, that is using the vehicle's charging capability when it's in split pack configuration. So normally this is around 800 volt system architecture. When you plug into a supercharger, there's no booster. It just it does the Macan thing, the Cybertruck thing, where it splits pack into two parallel configurations, essentially having the voltage. It will take 500 amps, and I showed that in my review video where it would, basically take 500 amps from the supercharger and then derate. So I went there first. Then I went to a high power, high voltage IONNA station, which was a 350 kilowatt station, and it was full and there was a line and I had to get the car back, so I couldn't charge it. But it wouldn't have been a great test anyway because it was only 350 kilowatt station. It should hold 400 kilowatts down low. At 50%, it should still be doing around 250 kilowatts at 50%. And then just come down from there. I mean, it's a pretty meaty charging curve. It's no Cayenne charging curve, but it's really good considering the energy density of these cells. And sorry to keep going on, there's so much to talk about with this car. And the fact that the cells are 4695 in form factor. There's no modules. It's cell to pack, pack to body. So it is as new construction as you could possibly get. The entire battery is the structural floor of the vehicle, and there are literally no modules in the battery pack. They are wired in the way that they can split pack, but there's no like bricks of modules taking up space.
So what didn't you like about it?
I am not 100% sold on the styling, but I think it's fine. It looks better in person. but it's not
Yep.
like a beautiful car.
So a lot of the time in the last year, maybe 2 years, I have delicately been saying the Chinese are ahead of some Western rivals. And I've been delicate because sometimes people don't want to hear that. Sometimes people don't want to think that we don't do everything brilliant where we are, and that anyone who's been doing this a relatively short period of time, automotive engineering, the Chinese knew they couldn't beat Detroit and Germany. That's why they went EV in 2005. And so they've done some cracking things with charging and some cracking things with some, hypercars and stuff like that. But this, to me, sounds like Germany or BMW, with all of the irons they've got in the fire, with all of the prevarication that BMW have done, and I think still do, they've still got a little foot in hydrogen. They're still talking about, well, maybe the future's e-revs. It sounds like they've made a pure EV that has just smashed it. There's not a bad word you've said against it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Dominic mentioned in the comment section, no dog or camp mode is probably the worst part about this car.
Okay.
You put dog mode in there, you give it a little bit better self-driving capability. I mean, the lane centering was amazing, and that's what most people just want, is like highway lane centering. But how cool would it be if it had like FSD level of capability, if you so wanted it to? That would be amazing. Then it'd be the perfect car. I mean, they've just nailed it. And to your point, Martin, the charging and the range are great. The battery pack seems really good. What really matters is the way that it drives. I've driven a lot of Chinese cars, probably 20 or 30 different models of Chinese cars, and they all drive weird. None of them feel sorted. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. A lot of people just don't care. They want, a fast charging vehicle, whatever. And I'm a huge fan of Chinese cars. Like, I would drive a Xiaomi SU7 every day as my daily driver if I could. I love that car. But the BMW is a well-rounded package. This is a great driver on the highway. It's a great driver in the mountain roads. They thought about thermal management. I took it. It didn't even make it in the video because I couldn't find the clip, but I took it to Ascari racetrack and ripped it around the track as well, doing multiple hot laps.
No.
And it handled it just fine. So, I mean, it's a really serious car in terms of just being a BMW. And I am a BMW fan my whole life, so I love a lot of the ethos that goes into designing and engineering the cars. But now they finally got the EV stuff right. I have an early i3, and I still drive that car, and I love that car. It's from the 5 Grand Fizz, actually. And it's like the worst i3 you could ever find, and I drive it all the time. That's such a good car. But BMWs of recent kind of haven't been great electric-wise. The i4, not my jam. i5, it's like okay, but if you drive it hard, it really overheats quickly. iX, that was probably the best out of the most recent BMWs. And i7's cool because it's just a 7 Series, but it's like a terrible road tripper, as we found out in the i90 Surge. Now BMW's on top in like every category. It's really cool.
Yeah. And as you say, they've come with something that in its first guise is not going to trouble everybody in terms of outright pure performance. iX3 50 xDrive, still dual motor, xDrive, all-wheel drive, but 345 kilowatts of power, 0 to 100 kph in 4.9 seconds, tops out at 210 kilometers an hour. But they don't need to come with the fire breather. It needs to be Model Y long range, new Mercedes-Benz EQs on par with those, and then they've given themselves room to do more. So that's fascinating. For our audio listeners, very quickly, you haven't heard Dominic speak on the podcast yet. That's only because he's been showing video, been doing comments. I don't want to overload his broadband. He's checked into a hotel just to do this podcast, which I'm going to use with my wife in the future. Like, I need to get a hotel because I got to do the podcast. So Dom, hopefully it works all right. A bit of a delay earlier. Dom, what do you think of the iX3, where it sits in the market, how important it is?
I think I'm pretty excited about it. It's like I think it's the most exciting vehicle coming out in the next over the next year. It's off the top of my head. It's I think it sits about $10,000 lower than the Tesla Model Y. It's like the same size basically as the Tesla Model Y, and so I think it's kind of a prime competitor. It has a lot more range than the Model Y. It charges, I think, somewhat faster, per mile. So I'm not sure that's, and I think people will enjoy it from watching Kyle's video. I think people will really enjoy the performance, the suspension, the ride. It all sounds really dialed in, and really what I think the American market is looking for. And it's kind of the right size, not too big, not too small. I really love it. It's $60,000 starting, and that's before maybe dealers will tack stuff onto that or whatever. There'll be a cheaper rear-wheel drive coming as well. That would be probably something more that I would look for, and something that's a bit more affordable. That'll be closer to the all-wheel drive Model Y, but still, I'm curious to hear actually from Kyle about the steering feedback. So you were saying in the video it's like a really light steering, which you like, but you were talking about the feedback in the steering.
Yeah, you know what, Dominic? It's been over a month since I've driven it. I don't remember the detailed stuff. I'd have to go back and watch the video too.
Watch your own videos. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember it having a pretty long rack, but I shot that video and then it exited my mind because we had a bunch of other stuff after that. Sorry,
I do that. No, I do something, and then the minute it's in the books, my brain can mentally now it's someone else's problem to edit that or whatever.
Yep.
So
I just sent the footage to Timon, and I had not thought about the iX3 again until yesterday when the video went up.
Nice. All right. So, final thoughts on iX3 and where it'll sit with the market. Andrew. Go ahead.
Point of clarification, really quick. I'm so sorry. I just want to clarify the pricing really quick, which is about. It's more than the Model Y performance. A couple times we've mentioned that it's less. It is more money, and it's less performance than the Model Y performance, but it is a more substantial, more premium car. So Model Y is still the great value where you can get FSD at a pretty good car at a very reasonable price. This is for people who clearly need more range or faster charging or just a more premium experience. This is that.
Yeah. All right. Andrew, final thoughts on iX3? Anything we haven't covered yet?
Sorry, it's a little early, so I totally forgot. But I was speccing out an iX3 recently on the UK configurator because the US one's not ready yet. And I think just with all the on-paper specs, and Kyle, your opinions on the driving feel and experience, and especially the one-pedal driving, because I think that's one aspect of an EV that you can't really convey on paper, because EVs are just you got one pedal driving, and then it's very different. You get in a Stellantis product and the one pedal driving is probably a little rudimentary. So I think I'm very curious to drive one and see how that feels, because I think that's a very difficult thing to get right, and that's awesome they pulled it off.
And in California, just a quick note where you are then, Andrew. So have you noticed any difference this week commuting to work? So decals for high occupancy lanes now no longer work. There was a 60-day grace period. It's now a $490 fine if you get caught with your EV.
If you get caught.
Yeah, if you get caught. I think Newsom had signed something, but didn't get federal approval. So that's all gone as of Monday, just gone. So if you get caught, have you noticed a difference in the roads or not? These things get overblown sometimes.
Not really. I mean, everyone does the trick where I don't do this, but you have the HOV thing, and you can make it say that you have 3 people in your car, and then you just drive through the lane, and then you see the thing, it flashes up 3 people, and then you just drive by, and it's just someone clearly just in the car by themselves, and you're like, okay, that's a strat. Or if you ever take a dealer car home, there's other ways around that too.
Okay, I don't need to worry about that because it's when I'm not in California. But there we go. Good to know. All right, so IONNA press day, which is not the reason we haven't got Tom. Like I say, he's doing something else. But Kyle, you were just with Tom, funnily enough, because we messaged Tom yesterday. He's like, "Hey, I'm here with Kyle." At the IONNA event for a media day, there has been so much sort of to and fro with electric vehicles in the US. It must be kind of awkward timing, really, for IONNA, but they're not letting their foot off at all. You got a video coming with all the details, but what was the event all about, and what were they talking about?
Yeah, IONNA, I think it all stemmed because they had an in-person board meeting the day before. So you have, every member of the JV, which is 8 automakers, it has a seat at the board of IONNA. So they had some experience day, I don't know, come to the office, see the lab, and then they probably were like, let's invite some media too. And they walked us through the entire progress from the start of like where they are today and where they're trying to go. And I love IONNA because they're all EV nerds. They're all just trying to have the best possible EV driver experience, truly, and they have so much money to do it with. Like they are backed by 8 multi-billion-dollar automakers. So they are just dumping money into this. Now, a lot of the questions yesterday that we talked about were like, okay, yeah, we're burning cash right now to build this network real fast. How do you make it profitable and sustainable? That is the goal. That is what they're working towards. This will be a real amazing network long run. And they turned on yesterday while we were there. 4 stations went live while we were there, like around the country. It was insane. It's just like boom, 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 boom. They have this big gong that they hit every time something cool happens, whether they get a permit or construction starts or a site gets energized, and that thing was dinging. It was really amazing to see the speed that they're operating in, and they are still confident. I mean, I don't know, but they're still confident they're going to be able to have 30,000 ports by the end of the decade. That's like basically Tesla supercharger network level. I don't even know how many Tesla supercharger network ports are in the US.
I know that the number when a new car maker gets access to NACS, we give the number as 21,500 extra plugs can now charge. But I know that's obviously only V3s and above.
Right. But we're talking like a ton of stations.
Like basically, it's a ridiculous ambition.
So that is, they're still working towards that. They're like hardcore in reliability. They're building these beacon sites. It's just so cool, and it was so energizing to be there because, there was some talk about EV pullback and maybe some, from the automakers, like, maybe right now we're in a dip, but all of the automakers that were there, and they weren't just the EV people, it was like VP of operations for BMW North America and a bunch of others. They were just all in on like, look, people will still buy electric cars, and there's millions of electric cars on the road today that still don't have enough charging. So we're full rip. We are not backing off at all. And they're going full send into this thing, and they're building it so fast. So it was great to go there. I mean, it's cool because it's in the neighborhood. We live right near IONNA HQ, and we're trying to convince them to put a station up here at the track. So they're coming up to do a site visit soon. So that'll be great. How cool would it be to come here and charge at IONNA right off the highway? Would be great.
Brandon says that once everyone had asked the softball questions, you ripped in with the proper ones. Is that?
Yeah. They had this guy there that was, hired by a PR agency or whatever, who had never been around charging a day in his life. And I'm like, who is this guy? And he was in charge of running the panels. And he was like, so tell me in 3 words what IONNA means to you, Mr. Chairman of Hyundai. And I'm like, God, this guy effing sucks. Get him out of here. So,
I'm on the clock. Come on.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you going to do to sell electric cars? So Tom and I kind of hammered all the automakers for a bit, which was really fun, but it was positive. It was a really great time. But yeah, that guy sucked, and he just wasted so much time. So other than him, great event.
Amazing. My friend, thank you so much for joining us. Please make more of the EV inbox ones that you did. If no one's seen that on your channels, it's where you just sit down and just talk, which I could watch just for hours because it's just Kyle just chatting with email. So please make more of those if you would.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me go. I'm sorry I've got to leave early, but I'll be watching mobily.
Nice one. Take care.
See you guys.
See you, dude. Right. Okay, that's IONNA covered off, and
thanks, Kyle.
iX3, and such a delay on Dom's email on his internet connection. We see him perfectly, but there's just a very long latency. But we'll just count 1,000, 2, 1,000 when we ask him a question. All right, let's talk.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. We can fix it in post. No one's watching this live anyway. Don't worry. Let's talk a little bit about the new Lexus that was debuted. So let's get into it. The Lexus LFA is held in pretty high regard in the automotive world. It was in development for the better part of a decade, and they only made 500 of them over a 2-year run from December 2010. It was a true halo car, originally revealed at the 2025 Monterey Car Week. Then it was the Lexus Sport Concept. Lexus has now officially debuted it again and renamed it the LFA Concept. And there's no combustion. It's all electric. Lexus says it's centered on three key elements: low center of gravity, low weight, high rigidity. They've been pursuing aerodynamic performance. There's not a huge amount of technical information for our viewers. We keep expanding where we put the podcast as it keeps growing. So obviously there's YouTube every week. But hello if you're watching on Instagram. Yeah, we've now got our vertical feed with our three faces and LinkedIn. And obviously, what's the other one? Twitch as well and more. So, and on X. So wherever you're watching this, if you see the feed, this thing looks proper. Andrew, there's not too much that we know about this specs-wise, but what are your first impressions?
That's a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
It literally looks like the next generation of the LFA. I mean, it is called the LFA, but it's like, it looks like you just see that and you're like, yeah, that looks like a modern LFA. That is a beautiful car. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how people accept it in the automotive community, because people usually view like Toyota and Lexus as the purest brand that hasn't really touched electrification. Obviously now things are changing. So yeah, I'm very curious. What do you think? How do you think the populace of automotive will accept it?
Certainly it's stunning. Doug says in the comments, wait, that's a Lexus? Wow. He says, I'll show the comments even though it slightly obscures Andrew. Just a floating head on the screen now with when we put the comments on. That's okay. And Simply Stunning says, long-time listener and viewer, Lexus nailed it, says Urban. Big surprise, it's fully electric. Our solid-state batteries being used. Not heard anything about that. Toyota have obviously been talking about solid state for a long time. Bobby says, this looks beautiful. Closest thing they'll probably make to an electric LC 500. And Keenan here says, simply pretty. A man of few words. That's all that needs to be said. It is very, very, very pretty. Lots of reaction out there about using the LFA name on an electric car, and I think it's fair to say, Dom, not all of it is positive. I'm not very online these days, as the kids like to say. We're very online, but you certainly are more than me. What's the internet made of this?
There was a lot of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth from where I was looking. A lot of automotive enthusiasts really hold the LFA in high regard. It had this V10. It was really high revving, and it revved up faster. They had to go to a digital, what you call tachometer, because the analog couldn't keep up. It revved so quickly, and so there's just a lot about it that people just really love this car, and those people are not so much into the electric car thing yet. And so, but that's too bad, because that's eventually all our cars will be electric, even the Ferraris, even the the Lexus LFAs of the world. And so it's just, I'm actually surprised that that Lexus did this, because they've been, part of Toyota. Toyota's been pretty slow, timid with their electrification, really. They've shown a lot. And they have a few models out now, but I think it's safe to say they're somewhat behind a lot of the other automakers out there, especially in China. But yeah, I think it's a great looking car, and I'm looking forward to actually. Someone mentioned I'm looking forward to actually vehicle. Someone mentioned solid state batteries earlier, so I think 4 years ago, Lexus had a concept, and they mentioned, or they're talking about it, and they mentioned, their future sports car having solid state batteries. So, and Toyota is working on solid state batteries, and they should be coming. A production version of the LFA would come out. So maybe this is a platform for that. Maybe those two things will come together at the right time. I guess we'll have to see. That's a few years into the future.
NB Volks in the comment section says, if it walks like an LFA and talks like an LFA, well, it'll certainly sound different. And Oracle says, the petrol heads can suck it. Top performance comes from BEVs, full stop. They just can't face facts. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, one of the VPs at Porsche, maybe in Australia this week, I forget where it was, said they've been doing some off-road comparison testing with the new electric Cayenne. And it's just better in every way than the combustion Cayenne. But, of course, people are still going to buy combustion Cayennes because they still want Cayennes with engines. But it's interesting that even the car makers themselves go, well, yeah, I mean, the best car. If you want the best car we make, then it's an electric car. If you want a car that fits your dogma, because you've been told by, I don't know, someone that you shouldn't like electric cars, then go buy the combustion one. But, yeah, even the automakers say, like, if you want the best car, then buy the BEV. Let's have a look in the comments to see what you are saying. NB Volks also says, when the LFA was released, it was a flop. People just talked about how it was overpriced for the specs and how long it took to make. And then Tim says, this is what the Jaguar Project 00 should have looked like, not the awful thing they showed. Well, there is a story around that, Tim, which we can mention now, actually, and then we'll come back to the Lexus, as this isn't a car launch, but we can chit chat around it. Yeah, this car does look absolutely stunning. It does probably move things a little bit, I think, maybe for Lexus, but it looks like a high performance GT. The Jaguar Concept 00 could have cost a very, very good, very well, high-regarded designer. So the head of JLR's design was fired this week. Now, if you believe one report in Autocar, and I don't want to do the gentleman a disservice, he has a fantastic career in terms of things like the Range Rover Evoque and the Velar. All right, so this guy knows what he's doing. It was Autocar India, I think, that I read online, that he was escorted from the building. I can't prove that's true, and it probably does him a disservice. But if that's true, like, what's happening at JLR? Like, that's just, I mean, that never ever needs to happen in any workplace. I worked in an industry before, in the media, where that happened, because I worked in broadcasting, and they were terrified that you would go on the radio the next day and say something terrible about the people who owned the company. And you, of course, you never would, because you're a professional and you want to gig at another company in town. So you're never going to say, people have left radio stations in different ways, but we're not all Howard Stern. But I've seen that happen to people. I can't believe that story is true. He's too good to be walked from the building. But it was one of those kind of Monday morning, Tuesday morning things. Pack your things up, sir. You need to leave. Did JLR's electrification strategy lead to him leaving? Well, you've got to ask. I mean, the whole thing was met with, again, a lot of online ridicule. Even the president weighed in, calling it woke. That video that they made, that it wasn't a TV ad, that kind of brand video with people in bright colors of all different shapes and sizes and skin colors, whatever, was met with people going, "This is a Jaguar advert! Where's the car?" Like, don't lose so much sleep over things that don't really affect you. Do you know what I mean? But hey, that's the internet. Dom, I mean, did Jaguar's inability to smoothly go EV cost him his job? What do you think?
So I'm not sure if you're finished talking yet. The lag here is incredible. So I don't think the design of the Type 00 was the reason for the designers firing. That car is about to go. The production version of it is about to be revealed like any time. It was supposed to be before the end of the year. In October, we saw, I put a picture of it up a little bit ago of it on the Nordschleife doing some testing on the track. So that thing is happening, and doesn't look like exactly like the concept at all. It's got 4 doors. It's the proportions are a bit different. Still a long hood, but there's a whole lot of other things going on there with some changes over in with Tata, the corporate owner of JLR, and I think there's a bit more corporate intrigue. It could have something to do with the gentleman himself, but I don't think it has to do with his design abilities or.
No.
or lack thereof, as some people might believe.
Yeah. Well, both he and the previous boss, who had been at the company like 30 years, have now departed. I think, look, hindsight is 2020. I think in hindsight, you know, if you are going to reinvent the company, they said that they wanted a whole new audience, and that they didn't care if all the old Jaguar fans that have bought the last 4 cars have been Jaguars, didn't like their direction. But then again, they also seemed surprised at the pushback at that, and so I think it's either one or the other. I think it's fine, you know, you can run your company however you want to run it, but be prepared that if you are effectively doing, you know, new Coke, for people to go, we don't like this, and you need to be brave enough to go, that's cool, it wasn't meant for you, you don't need to like it. But then they backtracked and they fired their agency, and now, you know, high level people are going, so it's kind of messy. And they've got nothing to sell at the moment. Andrew, sort of any thoughts on this or not? You don't have to, you don't need to.
Yeah. So no, I think the whole thing was so okay. I think at least from the ad side, I kind of like, I see both sides. Like, yeah, it was kind of a strange ad to do for a car company, but like Apple's always done really unique ads and they've seemed to work really well. I think this was definitely more experimental than what Apple would do. But then I also see, I'm like, but yeah, it's just an ad. And then, but I also find it so weird, like the reaction from like the public, like people were like really upset about this ad. And I'm like, okay, like if I was working in the company, I don't think that ad would be the best, but I don't think it was like the worst thing ever. And these people were like, I'm never buying a Jaguar. And then it's like some dude with like a profile picture of like a Honda Civic. And it's like, okay, dude, it's like you got a 2005 Civic. You probably weren't buying the new Jaguar Type 00 or whatever.
Yeah.
But then also I think, especially when you're going with this bold design, so they had a bold design for the vehicle. They had a very bold ad to go with the vehicle, and electrification is still kind of seen as bold. But the also thing is, people forget that Jaguar has been making the I-Pace since 2018. So, but yeah, at least going with that bold design, bold ad, and electrification all at the same time could be a recipe for people freaking out. And as we saw with how the public reacted, it was pretty much that. I don't know. I still think I think my kind of complaint with the whole thing is, they had this like very bold ad, bold vision, etc., but they didn't have a car out. I mean, the ad was over a year ago, and there's still no new product out. They're still selling the Jaguar F-Pace, I think. I don't even know. And it's like, where is the car? Like, you have this ad for this new vehicle, and like the car should have at least been coming out pretty soon. And then it would have been like, okay, like you got this new vehicle, but now it's out on dealers a year later. And it's like, we still haven't even seen any more photos of it. I think there was like one photo recently of like a matte red one in London, but that's it.
And it was going to be £130,000 or $160,000 or something like that. And they were going to move away from where Jaguar has been and go ultra luxury. So if you are cross-shopping that with a Bentley, they were aiming to change market segment as well. And so they did a lot. They were saying, well, here's our new logo. So the Jaguar logo, and I've been corrected before. People have said to me then they never lost the actual Jaguar symbol of the animal, but still, they did release new logos that were just this kind of like weird sans serif font. So they did put out a new logo. They did change completely what the car was going to look like. And they did have a brand video, or an ad, I forget what it was, which was wildly different from what they've done. And it seems, and we were saying, and all of the buyers we've had, we don't want you now, we want Bentley buyers. So please look at our £130,000 vehicle, which we haven't got for another year and a half. It was a big ask. It was a big ask, and so I'm not surprised they've got. I think Tata have put somebody in there from the business. I think it was the CFO. I need to check. It was the CFO. I think of Tata as the new chief exec there at Jaguar Land Rover. And so yeah, I think there's in terms of saving the company. The automotive business, they got a big cell factory being made in the southwest, not far from me. But that new electric Range Rover, and then what they do next, so the next Range Rover electric, whether it's going to be the Evoque or the Velar, has to be stunning. And by all the reviews, the new Range Rover Electric is the real deal. It is stunning. So the Land Rover bit of the business, I think, will be fine. But yeah, interesting comments coming in as well. I love our audience so much. There's no one here that's been like the typical internet reaction. And so everyone's just like pretty just normal in the comments, being like, yeah, probably a mistake. But yeah, thank you so much. NB Volks says, I'm in general tired of the slow drip time approach to product development. Yeah, stuff like that. I think it's all good comments. All good considered stuff. Right, before we go, we've got Dom back. This is a good thing. Now, before we go, we'll talk economy and K-cars. And Dom can definitely talk to the subject of K-cars. However, this week in the United States, the subject of fuel efficiency came up. This week, there was a press conference on Wednesday at the White House announcing a rollback of fuel efficiency standards from the goal of the car makers had of 50 mpg, which was to be hit by 2031. That was an old Biden era thing, and rolling it back to 34 mpg. And so there were lots of comments made at the event, like cars are trash now, and they're terrible, and we're making cars great again, and go buy gas guzzlers and enjoy filling them up at the tank, at the pumps. Odd for someone this side of the Atlantic as I watched that, because America, for me, is the country of innovation, of exploration, of designing new things, of pushing boundaries forward. So kind of rolling things back and going, gas guzzlers. It's a good thing. That's odd for me to come to terms with, because I look up to America as the big brother of, like, this is where things are invented and things get moved forward. And then you have to kind of come to the reality that, well, that's China now. Like, China's moving the EV industry forward. And you're like, well, I'm not ready for them. I'm not looking up to them as my big brother yet. So it's kind of weird to see that. Of course, it's not in law yet. It's going to go through a consultation period. But yeah, kind of interesting, kind of weird. Andrew, obviously you're in California. You know, you're surrounded by a certain mindset as well where you are. But yeah, what was made of that this week in the US about rolling back fuel economy?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting, because I watched the press, or like 8 minutes of it yesterday, and Trump was like, you know, he's like, beautiful. He's like, we're going to we're going to lower the CAFE standards because they're forcing you to drive electric cars, etc. Because he keeps saying the electric car mandate, but they're like, isn't really an electric car mandate. No. Like, there's no mandate in place. No. So that was interesting. I mean, yeah, it's really tough, because I'm also like, I say we could also let the market decide. And as we saw, like, even back in 2021, when Tesla didn't get the tax credit, vehicles were, you know, I mean, I maybe even the market could have been a little more competitive back then, just because prices were a little bit lower. But people were still buying Teslas in droves back in 2021, no tax credit, because the cars are just simply better than their internal combustion engine counterparts. So now we don't get a tax credit anymore. These CAFE standards are being lowered. I'm still hopefully thinking that the market is still going to be trending towards EVs and just more, like, it's like, why would you buy a gas powered RAV4 that gets, I don't know, 30 miles per gallon, when you can get a hybrid one for like just marginally more money that gets like 42 miles per gallon and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of natural, but I also think that the market in general, just the people buying cars, like, this is going to sound very elitist and as people just in the EV space, but it's like the average person knows nothing about a car. Like, they just don't.
I agree.
And then
I know you mean that in the nicest possible way.
In the nicest way, yes. Yeah. And the average person will go to a dealership and be lied to by a salesman or saleswoman who just tells them, yeah, this or whatever. Like, they're just going to, like, I can literally find a random person, put them in a car dealership, have the salesperson tell them, hey, hybrids suck, don't get one. And they'll be like, okay. And then they'll just buy a regular gas powered car. So I think in some ways we do need the CAFE standards, these, I wouldn't say mandates, but strict guidances from the government on what cars should be. Like, just because it's like there's no reason that every gas car on the road shouldn't be a hybrid. Like, there's just no reason. Like, there's obviously, I really like EVs. I prefer cars with plugs, but it's like, if we want to increase our overall decrease our overall emissions in this country, improve the efficiency of vehicles, it's like everything should be a hybrid. And that could just be, a mandate or guidance from the government to require that. So
yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with aiming to be better. You can still have a combustion car if you want one, and there's nothing wrong with saying, we can get better at this. I think it was Volvo's CEO who's come back again for a period of time, Håkan Samuelsson, who spoke this week about this and said, I think it was him, I might be misattributing, that said there would be no catalytic converters on cars unless we had to put them on there. And no one loses any sleep about a catalytic converter. But unless we were forced to do it, it was just inconvenient for the auto industry. It cost more money and development. So we wouldn't have done it. And look at the lives we've saved by cleaning up the air. And so his point was, there's nothing wrong with rules that make the auto industry stretch to innovate and invent new things. It's weird to look over your shoulder and go, it's things were better. I find it odd. Yeah, it's a weird mindset. I kind of came to terms with it when we left Europe, the EU, Brexit happened. And so many people of an older generation said, I remember what it was like before we were in Europe. It was better. Let's go back to it. And I'm not sure life is a load better. But it's certainly not, I don't think, again, I'm privileged. I sit here and I'm fine. I know that I'm privileged. I wouldn't say life's worse. Just life goes on. Like, we're in Europe, we're not. Oh, EU, I should say. That's fine. But what I thought was weird was the attitude of, let's go backwards. Like, let's not be moving forward. So I do struggle with that mindset. K-cars, we'll talk about that. Japan and Korea have these small cars, and they're called K-cars. They're actually limited by, I think it's 400 kilograms unladen. It might be more. But dimensions and weight and things like that, they get preferential tax treatment there in Japan and Korea as well. And then we had this weird statement from the White House that nobody thought was going to be coming, where Trump said, he has now authorized the Secretary of Transportation to immediately approve the production of K-cars in the US, which is fascinating. Does anybody want one in America? But it appears, I don't know if America was ever banned from making K-cars. Anyway, Dom, you know a lot about Japanese culture, and so tell us about K-cars, and does America want one?
Well, I mean, some Americans want one. I want one. I'd love to have a K car. I've wanted to import them before and convert it to electric, like a little Honda Acti. I love them. A lot of people don't love them, but there's nothing, stopping automakers from building K cars, the small cars in the U.S. Aside from the fact that it's a low margin vehicle and there's not really any demand. And they have to pass crash safety tests, and that would be super challenging to, with our safety crash test today, it would be super challenging, I think, for a K car to pass, our standards. So if they wanted to actually make it easier, I guess they could make it, give it some sort of crash test exemption. But I'm not sure that's going to increase the number of people wanting to buy them and drive them in America on American roads. Yeah.
And was there anything stopping America from making them already?
No.
Okay.
No. Just that they need to be able to pass, crash tests.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So the close, we do have the Tello. So the Tello is an interesting, it's slightly larger than the K car, but they think they can do it. They think they can pass the safety test. They have a great, packaging. They have a lot of utility of a pickup truck in a very small package. So that's really a kind of an interesting stab at that whole K car, sort of very small compact car market. but it's still not quite K car size. Those are even, a bit smaller than that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's we'll wait and see. A reminder that also when we hear these statements from the president, that when he leaves office, he'll be 82 years old, and so a lot of the time I just think, well, I'm just listening to someone from a different generation talk as well. And hell's bells, when I'm 82, I'm going to be sitting in the south of France with my trotters up, as someone once said, not running the free world. And so he's got a lot on his plate for a very, very old man. But hey, octogenarians still rule. Andrew, you've been very busy making videos for your, where you work, you're project engineer there, but you're also kind of with two hats on, looking after that. Have you driven anything recently that's been, really impressive, or any particular kind of videos that you put out recently that we can go have a look on Eva's channel?
Yeah, let me think. I did a Model 3 comparison, so like every single model year ever made, and I think it was the
2017.
First one.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think it was the first one on YouTube. So people like that. So I used like one of a Model 3 from each generation, so like a 2020, 2022, and then 2025. But I did walk through all the model years. So if anyone's curious about buying a Model 3, and I did the same for the original Model Y, so Gen 1, so 2020 through 2024. Trying to think about what else. I'm doing a video with the i3 very soon, so I just finished writing my script. Turns out I think that video is going to be very long, because the i3, I think, is a cultural icon and one of the most one of my favorite vehicles ever made. So this
and of course, Kia's got some stellar deals. I think maybe the best ones have ended now as of December 1st, but they'll come back. Kia's been giving like 10 grand off cars in the US.
I've seen even more. I think like 11,000 on EV6. EV9's getting really significant discounts too. I'm actually compiling the Inside EVs monthly lease deals, so I think that's going to come out today. But crazy deals.
And big discounts on the Nero. And again, you've been doing some stuff with the wind and wave trims. The Nero's kind of forgotten about, but it's still around, and a great little EV.
Yeah, I think the Nero especially, I mean, I forgot what the exact amount was, but I believe it's like around 10,000 off too. And it's like, that car's like around $30,000 brand new. You get assisted driving on the highway. You get 253 miles of range. What's funny is I recently did, I had a Nero EV when I was back in North Carolina. I just got one as a rental because I had a bunch of Hertz points. So I rented one, but it was cold out. And the one thing I realized on that car is you have to have the wind preserve package to get the heat pump and the battery heater. So if you don't have it, it can only cool the battery. It doesn't heat the battery. So I was doing a little road trip, and it was like, like 35, 40 degrees. And I plugged it in at 15% because there was no preconditioning. And I was driving for about like 45 minutes. So I was like, okay, maybe the battery warmed slightly. The fastest charge rate I saw in that car was like 33 kilowatts in the port.
Ah, no.
So it was like, because I plugged in and it was at Target. So I was just like, I'll just go in, grab like a coffee at the Starbucks or something, and come back. And then I came back and it was like 22%. And I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So
I had the sister car, the Kona, not exactly the same, for a while, and I forget how slowly that. Well, I remember, but I've forgotten. I forgot how slowly it charged, because I love that car. Like the Kia Niro and the Hyundai Kona, been around a really long time and still good little vehicles. But yeah, now you say that, it did crawl a little bit. It's all right, I don't really mind.
I think it's kind of crazy though that the car's like 40 grand brand new and you don't get a battery heater. It's like, what's going on here? That's not great.
Yeah, that's true. You need to wait for the discounts, get the lease deals and things like that, and get the right spec. Right, so we'll put that one in the books. Thank you, my friend. Make sure you check out Andrew's content online, Inside EVs, LinkedIn, all the rest. Dom, thank you for checking into a hotel on our behalf. People in the comments are asking. Now, I do know that where you are, you were saying this week that one of 2 internet undersea cables got severed. That's a bad day at work for whoever did that. That's going to be a bad end of year performance review with the boss. What did you do well? Oh yes, yeah. What went wrong? Oh, you cut through an internet cable for a whole island. What will you improve next year? Oh, you won't cut through. Oh, very good. I used to hate those things in corporate world. What will you change next year? It's just a game. I used to make stuff up that I knew that I could achieve, and my boss knew I was making stuff up that I knew I would achieve, and he went along with it. We always did. So, Dominic, where are you in the world, and why is the internet such a problem for you?
Yeah, so the undersea power cable was cut. So I moved, and the power on and off. My Wi-Fi was going on and off where I was staying. So for the show, I came to the Wyndham Hotel, which is being powered by generator. I assumed that the Wi-Fi would be great here. Not so much, apparently. So hopefully it improves next week. Things should be all back to normal, and I'll be back where I have been staying. Outside a little village, little fishing village, and it should be back.
Good. All right. Well, we can't wait to see where you are next week. The JMF says, "Hey Martin, will we see you on or hear you on a Formula One podcast again?" Yeah, I used to do the F1 podcast in my old life. And just before I logged on here for the live stream, I was watching FP2 from Abu Dhabi. So I still look, and isn't that awful? They burn stuff. Shock horror. Take my EV card away. But I'll be watching that, and maybe I'll crop up one day on a new Formula One podcast. Formula E kicks off as well, and for its final incarnation in Gen 3, I've got a season now of Gen 3, and then Gen 4 comes next year. And that's going to be interesting because that's going to mean that many of the circuits that Formula E, not Formula 1, but Formula E has been racing on can no longer be used. So somewhere like the end of season here in London, that track that's been used since COVID, it's just too small. There's just the construction of the building that they use, indoor, outdoor. It's really cool, but it's the cars get wider and faster, and they're going to end up racing Formula E on established. They'll still go to inner cities and stuff and go to places that widen motorsport, but they'll end up, I think, at more established tracks that are wider, faster. And yeah, I think you'll see Formula E getting a bit more coverage from next year, from Gen 4, because they're going to be, they already are properly quick, but properly quick and looking more like racing, not sort of going around the houses and stuff. Literally around the houses, but there we go. So end on some racing chat. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for watching, as always. Thank you, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn Live, who else? Twitch, wherever you've watched. Leave a comment on YouTube is the best place, even if you don't consume us there. Or leave a review on Apple Podcasts about our podcast over the next 7 days when we're back next weekend. And I'm tempting fate. I know I am. Hey, Dom! Say ciao! 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000.
Ciao.